Sega. Nowadays they're pretty much just known for Sonic, but back in the day they were mostly known for, well, okay, still Sonic, but it was so much different than it is now. Besides having lots of other beloved franchises and their own hardware, Sega meant something different. It was cool, it was creative, it was in your face, it was Sega! Honestly, the best thing I could say about Sega is that they are an actual video game company. A video game company that makes video games. Crazy, right? Look, I'm not saying Sony and Microsoft haven't contributed anything to video games, but in my mind there's a very clear difference between companies like them and companies like Sega and Nintendo. Sony and Microsoft were existing tech and electronic companies that just saw another market they could jump into and thought, hey, there's some more money to be made. It's funny, back in the day you saw a lot of gamers who swore and died by either Sega or Nintendo, and it was all about picking a side. And sure, there's still people who swear by one side over the other. I guess they're stuck in the 90s or something, not that I would know anything about that. But I feel like nowadays you see a lot less of that from fans, and instead more of a, man, remember the days of Sega versus Nintendo? Now that was a rivalry. Two actual video game companies that were very different duking it out. Again, it should be obvious saying this, but having video game companies that make video game consoles is a good thing. It sure is to me at least, and many other gamers. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If a video game company is allowed to make games, then what does it matter what console games are playable on? It's all about the games, right? I mean, that's something almost any gamer would agree with. Well, here's the thing. These video game consoles are made with a certain identity in mind, and that ends up being reflected in the type of games that come out for it. I mean, there's a reason that Xbox often gets made fun of as being a console for Dorito munching, Mountain Dew guzzling bros. Again, there's things I love about Xbox, but that perception is out there. I mean, come on, Microsoft even released a freaking special edition Mountain Dew console. Okay, let's take Sonic for example, since he's so prevalent. Sonic was specifically designed to embody the attitude of what the Sega Genesis was all about, and couldn't have existed the way he did on any other console. From there, he set the tone for the console and really the company overall, influencing what type of games were released on their system. Not only were the games Sega made themselves playing into the Sega brand, but games from other developers were also made to fit into what Sega was all about. The importance of a company making games for its own system can't be understated either. By trying to make games that are going to stick out and differentiate the console from the competition, the door is opened for a lot of creativity. For video games to be taken seriously as an art form, and not just a way for businesses to make money, we need creativity. And in the case of Sega, they really tried some creative things. I mean, heck, one of their most well-known games has you play as a dolphin trying to rescue its family. By the way, don't be fooled by that game. It's actually pretty terrifying once you get into the story. Anyways, Sega trying hard with their games wasn't an issue so much as trying too hard with their hardware and add-ons was. The Sega CD, Sega 32X, as well as Sega Saturn were all considered commercial failures, despite being appreciated by retro gamers nowadays. What caused the downfall of Sega is a whole nother video, and I'm not going to get into that here, but for now it's just important to know that they went down swinging before they eventually had to exit the hardware race. I mean, the chairman of Sega Enterprises provided millions of dollars, including some of his own money, just to try to help the Dreamcast tread water. There was passion at Sega. There's just no getting around it. So let's do a quick recap. We've got creativity and we've got passion. Sounds pretty good for video games, right? You often hear people say they wish for a Dreamcast 2, another Sega console, or what have you. Personally, I don't care what it would be called and would just love to see Sega make another console. And yeah, I know, I understand that there's just way too many hurdles to overcome for this to actually happen. This is more of a why people love Sega video, an explanation for why you still see the kind of passion you do from so many nostalgic gamers like myself. And speaking of nostalgic gamers, I'm sure a lot of you watching could be described as such people and would love to hear your thoughts on Sega. What would you like to see from them? Another console somehow? Or would you just be happy with them utilizing all the classic IPs they own? So as always, let us know down in the comments and I will see ya in the next video.